Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let's get rolling for Public Works Subcommittee. If anybody has any conversations going on, take them outside, please. Shut off your cell phones. And I want to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, if you would, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everybody, to the first meeting of the City Council Subcommittee on Public Works. We have 4 items tonight we're going to go over, and we'll take the easy ones first. I hope they're easy. First item is 20-016, which is the motion that I put in about parking 10 feet of a crosswalk. I did have discussions with the chairman of the Public Works Traffic Commission, Paul Genzio, along with Julie Demaro. And you want to pick this up a little, Paul?
Sure. So it came before the Traffic Commission, and we tabled it for the time being. There was a lot of concern that just arbitrarily doing every crosswalk might eliminate too much parking. So we decided that if there were some crosswalks that people or councilors felt were unsafe, that we would take them up on a case-by-case basis, have a public hearing, see if any parking was affected, and then basically do it just case-by-case.
So also, too, we would set up a ordinance in the city ordinances in the safety, Title 10, I guess.
Yes.
And we'd put a fine to it, and there would be signs on either side of the crosswalk, wherever they do it, and then we'd list all the crosswalks below that in the ordinance. Anybody have any discussion on that or issues? Everybody feel comfortable with it? Okay, so
Okay.
so can I have just a vote so we can get it through the council tonight? Roll call.
Roll call on the motion that the mayor request the Traffic Commission to establish a new regulation prohibiting the parking of motor vehicles within 10 feet of a crosswalk. Councilor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morabito? Is absent. Councilor Rotundo? Absent. Councilor Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes. Council President Keefe?
Yes.
Yes. And Chairman Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes, the motion will be forwarded to the full City Council.
Thank you. And item 2 is going to be 20-022, the bottom one, regarding the new Public Works building. Oh, no,
Yes.
I'm sorry. Number 3, 20-015. Give update on that, please.
Okay, sure. We're off to a little bit of a slow start, but we've just recently hired an OPM. That's Hill International. I'm sure everyone's familiar with Simon. They've done quite a few buildings throughout the city, some schools, the public safety building. They're currently working on the the DCR facility on the boulevard. So they are on board now, and I have a timeline as to when we can expect things done. We're going to advertise and select the designer by May 1st. A few of you may remember that we had Weston and Sampson do the feasibility study, and they presented a set of plans for everybody to look at. That was just a feasibility study, so a designer will be selected. I'm sure Weston and Sampson is going to put in their bid for it. It could be them, maybe not. But then we would go to second step, a few review and confirm design concept. We should have that done by June 1st. And then schematic design, design develop, and construction documents. That's going to take approximately 8 months. That should be done by February 1st. The public bidding process will take a couple of months. And then we'll actually enter into the construction phase after like May of 2021. Should be done by September 1st, 2022. And the project closeout will be by November 1st of 2022. So we hope to be in there by the fall of 2022. Some of the things we have in front of us that could delay it a little bit, we hope not. We have to find a place for the DPW operations to move to. where to park the trucks, where to keep all our supplies, where to run snow out of. But the OPM, and part of his scope of services is to help us out with that. So we'll be having a kickoff meeting probably the end of next week, and we'll finally get this thing rolling.
Any comments from any of the members, discussions, thoughts? Are we only talking about Public Works going in there, multiple story? And where exactly is it going to go?
It's going to go in the basically the same footprint that the current building is, a little larger, we hope. The administrative offices would be on a second floor. The second floor wouldn't cover the whole facility, just a part of the inside of the facility. There's some talk about bringing engineering with us, because they feel as though water and sewer and engineering work very closely. There is some talk about moving the water sewer billing office. We're still discussing that. Other than that, it would just be the DPW and the water sewer.
Are we talking all brick building?
That has not been determined yet. No. I think the building itself probably be more utilitarian. I don't know how. We're not really going to make a big, beautiful building out of it, but it'll be solid, and the material hasn't been decided yet.
So no other comments from any of us councilors? Okay, with that, we'll close that. We don't need a vote on that. It's just a place on file. The next item is update on the LED lights.
Okay, so National Grid has begun the process of moving all streetlights in the city over to LED. They're about 25% done. They have a private contractor plus crews of their own that have been working on this. We are in discussions with National Grid. There have been a few complaints. Out there now in the sodium vapor lights, there's different wattages. So they've been replacing them according to what the old ones were. So now the savings that would be generated, the LED light kind of casts a better light down onto the roadway, not as much light spillage. So therefore you can use a lower wattage, hence the savings. We have had some complaints that one of the wattages might be a little too low. We've had complaints that some of them are too bright. So we're trying to work through that to try to find a happy medium with everybody. And Dan Cameron came early. He's scheduled to be here at 6 o'clock, but he came early for this meeting in case we have any real detailed questions as far as what's happening.
Start on the right. Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much, Paul, for that information. I'm glad to hear that you're getting some of the feedback from the residents, because we are as well. I have not heard anything about them being too bright, but I have received several complaints about them not being bright enough, and that they feel that the light is very direct, and it's almost like a stream of light, so it's not making the neighborhood feel more lit and safe. They feel as if it's, almost like a spotlight. So that's the feedback I've received on it.
Well, that is how it is supposed to be. It's supposed to cast the light down onto the roadway and the sidewalk with less spillage out onto the private property and onto people's homes. So that was the advantage of going to the LED. We are talking with National Grid. We've thrown around the idea of taking that lowest wattage and getting rid of that and going up the next step to the brighter one. I think once that happens, if it does happen, I think people will be a little bit happier.
Right. And one other question, if people do have a concern, whether it be in their, say one's replaced in front of their home or business, if it's too bright or too dim, who should they reach out to?
311 is keeping a
Great.
list of streets, addresses, and whether they feel as though they're too bright or too dim.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Okay.
Well, I was going to ask that same question because that's more or less what people would like to know. They'd like to know who to respond to when they're unhappy with a situation like this, especially when it's new to the neighborhood.
Right.
And 311 is the vehicle to which to use, and I think that's a great source. And
Right.
I think the idea itself is wonderful. I think, increasing illumination in the neighborhood, it always increases the safety of the neighborhood, and I am all for that. So I'm for the higher voltage going into the product, and I'm, more illumination for the neighborhood.
Okay,
And again, Paul, it's a pleasure to see you.
thank you.
Council McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I love the LED. I got a couple of calls. People didn't know what was going on. They saw across the street, the street light brighter. But I think, it's randomly right now. But I think when the whole street is done, then you're going to see, the brightness of the sidewalks. And where I live, people are coming home at 11 and 12 o'clock at night. And it's dark without those LED lights. So I think this is a major improvement in the neighborhood, and thank you very much.
Okay, and I know there's going to be a difference of opinion. We got a call from somebody in the Pines today that the lowest voltage they thought was too bright. So you're going to have difference of opinions, and you'll probably have difference of opinions on each street. So we're going to try and, be as fair as possible and try to make as many people as happy as possible.
Council Morabito.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, are they implemented throughout the city? Is it already set up? Is it completely finished, all the LED lights?
No, 24%.
24%?
There's approximately, and Dan Cameron may be able to give you more exact numbers. I believe there's 3,400 that are going to be replaced, and 24% of that has been done, so probably 900 have been done.
I know my colleague wants to ask you one question about the different tiers, but I'll ask a different question. How many hours do they last? Like, how many years?
Dan Cameron will probably be able to.
Yes, Councilor, that is one of the advantages of LED, is that their burning hours are much, much longer than the previous generation of lights, which was sodium vapor. And the other thing is, if it's going to fail, it's going to fail in the first month or so. So, 3,500 lights, we might have a few that, and then when they fail, they strobe. They
Very
flicker on and
familiar
on.
with
Yeah, so we'll get right on that, replace those.
Because I know LED lights are more sensitive than their standard light bulb that we have. So I guess I'm saying, what are the chances of them going out during a storm? Are they more likely to go out than the old?
No, the technology has come a long way from when, and that's one of the reasons why, National Grid, this is, a relatively new program for us. We got it into our rates in 2018. And it's one of the reasons we held off, because we wanted to make sure the technology was really kind of foolproof. So it's been out there for quite some time now. So we're very confident on the lights that we've chosen to go in.
As my colleagues expressed, like some people are saying, I haven't heard of anyone saying they were too low or not enough sufficient light, but I have heard people say they were too bright. So my colleague's going to ask the next one.
Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Cameron, as we've mentioned, and I appreciate you coming up here, doing some clarification. Like Council Novoselsky, I've gotten a few calls, and I think you're going to be helping with Fenno Street. Just want to make sure the residents know that some of them that have reached out directly. Fenno Street had a few that were too light, too dim, the 25 watts.
Okay.
So we were explaining that there's 25s, 48s, 96s, and 210s. So
That's
the 210s are probably the ones that are going to be illuminating bigger streets or corners that have to cover a little bit more area. 25s are probably going to be more like accent lighting.
That's
And
correct.
I would probably think the standards are going to be 48s to 96s, depending on where
We're working through that
Right.
now with Paul and others on making some adjustments.
And also, I just wanted to make sure, and I know we already spoke offline, but the residents of Mountain Ave, there were a few on Mountain Ave that we noticed, and I know Superintendent and Paula Genzio and I spoke about Mountain Ave as well, just to try and make sure that those get taken care of. But I like the lights. I think that they offer a more modern look to our city as well. As you see them, when you see them in a row, you really see that the right color rather than that kind of, like you said, that sulfury orange. So I think they'll be a compliment to our city. Thank you.
Councilor Visconti.
Hi, Dan. Thanks. Question, when do you foresee the completion of the implementation throughout the whole city?
We started around the second week in January.
Okay.
So we've been at it now a month. The weather's been very cooperative,
Yes,
as we
it
know. So it is with a private contractor.
Okay.
So they're on board until they get it done. So I would say, probably give it at least another couple of months.
Okay,
Somewhere around sometime in April, we should be wrapped up.
great. Thank you.
Councilor Zambudo.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've got some complaints off Revere Street of not being bright enough. So that's Shirtliff Street, a couple of those side streets, they're not happy, saying it's too dark. So maybe those are the low voltage ones, whatever, maybe we can bump them up.
Sure. Yeah, that's what we're talking about now, is this play between the 25 and the 48 watt, so.
Great.
We'll get
But
there.
other than that, I mean, I think it's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I think that they're great.
Thank you, Counselor. And, I started to have discussions with Paul when they first started putting in Beach Street, and I said, I was getting complaints from the people that it was too dark. And Paul initially said, well, that's the brightest light they have. I said, what do you mean it's bright light? I went down to Revere Beach Parkway, and it's like daytime down there, down by the police station. And we found out by talking to some of the workers, the installers, and they showed me some of the heads. And if people go around and see the heads now, the 25 is a very light, and I believe they're called lumens, not watts. Is that correct?
No, that is watts.
They are watts.
But it is, but it does convert to several thousand lumens, depending on what the
Yeah,
water
'cause
size is.
they have an actual plan of a map of the whole city with every street light, a street pole with a light on it, and what wattage and what size they're supposed to put in. And I've spoken to the guys, and I told them what the problem was. In a couple spots, they were going to put in 210s in a residential neighborhood, and I said, I don't think I would do that. I said I'd really reconsider that and make the adjustment now, because you're going to have to change it down the road. So I believe they put in a 96 on Hitchborn Street. If anybody wanted to go down around and look some of the neighborhoods, I don't know some of the neighborhoods that are already done, but my own Hitchborn Street is done, Highland Street is done, Beach Street is done with 25s, which is very, very dark. But it seems though the 48s and the 96s seem to be the level that people seem to like. I know the first complaint I got was the 210 up on Arlington Ave, and if we can get to the contractor there and change that one at 55 Arlington, change that one down to a 48 or a 96, I think the neighbors would appreciate that, because they said it's shining right in, the way their head is angled, it shines right into the kids' bedrooms and even through the shades. That's how bright it is. So, but I wanted to bring this forward because I know it was an issue and people were asking about it, and let everybody in the city know through this, council
Chairman?
media. Mr. Maravito.
Will you allow me some leeway since we're talking about LED lights?
Well, it depends how far you
I
want to
have a
go.
quick question for the superintendent.
Time's up.
Oh, thank you. I know how strict you are with the time.
Go ahead, Count. Go ahead, Count.
President Keefe and I put in a motion, which was passed through this body last year, to have this DPW look into funding for LED crosswalks. What's the status on that? Is there any?
No, that's going forward. We're compiling a list of how many we need around each school. A lot of schools say, like the Wayland, they have a lot of crosswalks. They have 6 or 7 around there. So we're trying to decide and come up with a number around each school that, so those numbers, we should have those numbers fairly soon.
I'm glad to see it moving forward.
Okay.
Thanks.
It is moving forward. I've been following up on that, and I've even seen some of the construction sites on Ocean Ave have them as temporary flashes for the crosswalks, and the neighbors seem to like them, and as far as the public safety. So that was one of the motions I put in recently too. So
Okay.
that we put in, we look at 2 at each school, but if there's more crosswalks, we got to put in more crosswalks.
Right, so, some of the schools, it might be a little bit of overkill with, if
Right.
there's 5, 6, 7 crosswalks, but choose the ones that get the heaviest
Right.
use.
If anybody wants to see a sample up at in North Revere on Salem Street, that path, the bike path.
The bike path. in
You know,
Northern
right by
Strand.
Harmon Park. They have one up there, and everybody loves it. You know, it goes on when people push the button, and it lights up, you know, very clearly for all the drivers. So we look forward for that to get done.
Okay.
And the last item, the infamous parking regulations for permit parking.
Okay, so when we started this, the idea was to put signs at the entrances to the city alerting people that we had permanent parking. With discussions with the police department and with the traffic division and the people that are writing the tickets, we found that we're going to have to go out and we're going to have to sign every street. So in conjunction with that, back in 2001, we put up our street sweeping signs. Probably 50–60% of those over the last 20 years have disappeared. So we have a combination sign that we're going to use. And Jim Rose found this. This is Everett, and it's a combination sign. No parking, it has the street sweeping, and at the bottom it has the resident overnight parking. So we're in the process of getting quotes on the 14th, this Friday. We'll probably put up 1,600 of these signs. And then on February 27th, we're opening up bids for the installation of these. Given time for a contract to be signed and what have you, they'll probably start putting them up mid-March. You know, by May 1st, hopefully, we'll have most of the signs up. We can start neighborhood by neighborhood. And so this will cure the problem that the traffic division is having, writing tickets for the street sweeping, and every street will have these signs on them.
Is that bottom of that sign where it says the permit parking, is that say the 12 midnight to 6 a.m.?
It says sticker required, residential parking only, 12 a.m. to 6 a.m., excluding holidays.
Okay.
Because that's the way the ordinance is written.
So this doesn't affect any other permit parking rules that we already have in effect
No,
right now?
these signs will not go in the commuter areas. So the commuter areas, they should have pretty good signs by now. We've been signing those consistently over the last couple of years. But then we'll take those and make sure those are squared away, but they won't get this sign.
Now, some of the current commuter area signs are only daytime.
That's right.
Now, will this take effect at night?
Yes, we're going to have to. I mean, so once we get the bulk of this done, then we're going to have to go into the commuter areas and see which ones are 24 hours, see which ones are daytime, and we'll have to address that street by street.
Okay, and right now, anything that's pending is on hold?
Yes, we've tabled any other resident parking requests until we get this off the ground, because it's getting quite confusing with all these streets and changing it all the time. We want to get this off the ground, and then if we need to address more commuter areas, we will.
Okay, hang on one second, Counselor. I'm going to start on this side and work down the line. Counselor Zambudo, any comments on this?
No, I'm good.
Okay,
Thank
Counselor
you.
Visconti.
Paul, did you say that we're going to have the signs installed before the parking permit goes into effect, or?
Yes, I mean,
Oh.
Mr. Rose is here. He can speak to when these stickers are going to be created and how they're going to be distributed.
Okay.
But I don't believe there'll be any enforcement until the signs are on the streets.
Yeah, I could only imagine what.
Right.
Okay.
Mr. President, comments? Counselor Keefe? No comments. Counselor Morabito? No. Counselor McKenna?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Paul, I was just wondering, Councilor Novoselsky said that the permit parking that is on hold for requests that have been.
For new requests, anything that's been passed by the Traffic Commission.
Is fine.
Is fine, and
But we
those,
can't, so Ward 1 and Ward 2 cannot come forward with, and continue the permit parking for the abutting train stations?
that's correct.
Okay, until we get it?
Until we get this off the ground.
Right, and then can we put in permit parking from,
Oh, you certainly could request it, and the traffic commission will consider it, but the commuter area thing keeps growing. At some point, I think we have to look and see how far it's going to grow here.
well, I just think it's necessary, especially in Beachmont, when you have a train station and people keep going up and up and up the street.
Further
I've
and
witnessed it, and
Right.
that parking lot is full to capacity.
Right, well, you could certainly bring it before the traffic commission. I'm not saying we won't pass it, but for now, we want to get this off the ground.
Okay, thank you.
Council Guanasso.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I noticed that we're having a Traffic Commission meeting on February 20th, and I think you've answered somewhat.
Okay. I believe it's the 27th.
The 27th. Oh,
Yes.
I have a request in for the area, the commuter area around the Parvia School and adjacent streets, and I noticed that wasn't on there, so I assume that this is being held until this other program takes place,
That's correct.
and it hasn't been shelved, has it?
No, it's just been tabled with the rest of them till this gets off the ground, then those will be reconsidered.
Because I'm answering daily questions from the neighborhood as to what's taking place with that. I see Traffic Commission, I don't see this coming forward. Now, I even had to bring it to the Traffic Commission's attention to at least put it on to send it into that process.
Okay.
So at least the people will know that there's something is coming in the future.
Yes.
For this, because it is a major problem. And the Parvia School generates that, 18-hour-a-day business generates that. And the local traffic, the bus stops, the people now don't want to pay the $5 at the MBTA
Right.
location, so they want to park on our streets and go into Boston. But anyway, I'm very, very happy to see that this is coming to fruition, because it's been a project of mine for a couple of years now. And I get frustrated because I like to see things happen sooner than later. But my next questions will be asked of the parking director, because to be in terms of enforcement.
Okay?
Mr. Rose, front and center.
Jim, it's been a major concern of mine because I find so many people violating our laws. And it's not, in my opinion, it's not fair to the good guys, the people that are obeying the law, to see these habitual breakers of the law always doing it. I see it on Lowell Street every day. I go through there. It drives me nuts. Friday afternoon, they must know that the enforcement backs off a little bit, because they start parking on Lowell Street. And that's such a narrow street, and people don't realize how busy that area is, based on the fact of the proximity to the Parvia School and other activity in that area now. And that 18-hour business there is keeping a lot of traffic flow there. But I just can't see how these people who violate the law keep getting away with it. And it's at the beginning of the street, too. Everybody else obeys the law. Everyone on Boston Street obeys the law. Now we're having some problems down in Burnham, and these people are very angry because, again, they're coming down the street and parking there, and they're walking to wherever they're going. And this residence parking cannot come in soon enough. And I think the token is, if we start this program of enforcement in terms of the one that takes effect at midnight and goes until 7 in the morning, which prevents overnight parking, how are we going to handle that? Do you have enough staff on hand to do that?
Yes, I do. Actually, we're going to be putting on one. Is this on? Can you hear me?
Yes,
it is on. We're going to be adding another parking enforcement officer that's going to be working the hours from 11 to 7 in the morning. The way these new permits are going to be put on cards, they're going to be color-coded, okay? Color-coded in 4 different areas. We were originally going to do Beachmont, Wonderland, the different zones, and label them that way. Because we had issues of people complaining that they didn't want their streets on there, we decided also maybe it's not a good idea to put Beachmont, Wonderland, still giving an idea where residents live. So getting back to your question, yes, we will be enforcing it, and we'll be enforcing it aggressively. When I first came to the city on this job almost 2 years ago, the parking in the city was horrendous. There were
Right.
parking everywhere. Commercial vehicles were all over the place. Sidewalk parking, I could go on and on. People parked wherever they felt like and felt honestly like it was an entitlement. All right? That's all changed over the course of a lot of hard work by my parking control officers, my office, 311. Do you also use 311 when you have these complaints on
Yes, I
Lowell
do.
Street yourself?
I do.
So we could get somebody down there right away? One of my parking control officers is close by to that area, so that's something that...
Well, I don't think he's there anymore, so that may
Oh,
be a
yes,
reason.
I stand corrected on that, Counselor. You're
Yeah,
right.
I don't
You're
think
right.
he's there anymore, and I think they know that.
Right, but after this conversation, rest assured, they'll be down there.
You know, and I'm just thinking that, I don't want to be a meanie, but I want to somehow, and this world's got to recognize people who obey the law should be given a little bit of a play here. They should be given credit for doing the right thing. Now, if everybody violated the law, we'd have no law and order. So I think that it seems like so many times we're lenient for the people who violate the law. And
Right.
that to me is offensive. I find that the good guy deserves a break, and that's all we're trying to do.
It's offensive to myself also, Counselor.
Right.
And
I know you're doing a great job.
Yeah, I
and
will
your
have
staff.
people down there to be looking at that. We'll target your area more aggressively. We have 500 streets roughly in the city of Revere. It's a big job. We have 6 parking control officers spread it out throughout the whole city. Pretty much, they're doing a great job because the tickets that they write, the violations, you know, they're cleaning it up. All the commercial vehicles
Well,
are
I'm not
leaving.
known as a complainer, and the first time I offered for resident parking in Ward 3
Right.
was a couple of months ago. It's
Okay.
the first one in years. I've never offered in one before, because I felt that,
Excuse me, Counselor,
launching
can we
the
take a
commuter
vote on
line-
that?
We need the commuter line. He's a rookie, he doesn't know, he'll learn. You need the commuter line, you know, so I figured that was, give it that the first play. But now I see these creative violators are coming up with new ideas. And so,
Well, you better warn them. We're on our way.
well, I appreciate that. I'm just glad to know help's on the way and some sort of relief for the good guy. And that's
Help will be on
who
the
I'm
way.
interested in.
All right. Thank you for bringing it to
Thank
my
you.
attention.
And Jim,
Thank
again,
you.
to
Yeah.
you and your staff, you're doing a great job.
Thank you. They do it.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Janino.
Thank you, Counselor. I know this is something that Counselor McKenna and myself have been working on for some time now, and it's really exciting to see it come to fruition and to see things start to happen. And I think it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve for everyone in the city to kind of get used to, as there are people that have lived here for 50 years and not had to worry about it in their neighborhood. But it will at least give us some accountability in some way to control the issue that's happening in the city. And as we grow as a community, this is going to become a bigger issue, so we're going to get ahead of the game. And I was happy to hear about the signage and the plan for that. I know that's going to be a big undertaking, but I think in the long run, it will be worth it. So thank you guys for your hard work, and I look forward to seeing this all come through in the next couple of months.
Thank you, and I want to commend you and Councilor McKenna and the other people who are involved in putting this all together. My job is basically the end, getting it up and running and enforcing it, which we will do.
If I may, regarding the signage, I hope they're not going to be putting up new poles, that we're using existing poles. I think
Positively,
We got too many poles.
Right, I know that. Oh, yes, no, we're going to be using existing poles, existing phone poles where appropriate. We may have to put some up if there's a gap, but no, all existing poles and will be utilized.
Yeah, I just don't want to see overabundance of signs on one particular street like they did with Campbell Ave. You know, they have them every
Right.
50 feet, which I think
Right.
is bad. And
No, we're going to try to keep, I'm going to work with Sergeant Janino and Mr. Rose to see, you know, what's appropriate, but not overkill.
yeah, actually, on Campbell Ave, I want to take some of the signs down,
Okay,
you know, to try and combine double pole, you know, put a double sign on a
Some
pole
poles,
instead of
right.
all these singles poles that are up there.
okay, did a contractor do that, or did we did that, or?
I think that when we first did permit parking,
Okay,
way back when, the
Okay.
contractor did that and just put them up anywhere and
Okay.
everywhere they could, so.
okay. We'll certainly
Just
do
one
that.
other question. How are we going to get the stickers distributed to the folks?
Good question. The stickers are actually, presently contracted company, a vendor called City Hall Systems. City Hall Systems are basically going to be going off the excise tax, purging the list. Anybody that has their vehicle presently registered in the city of Revere, paid excise tax, paid tickets, will get a permit, a residential permit, mailed to their address, free of charge. There'll be no charge for this. Now, the program, a lot of people want to know when the program is going to be taking into place, and I'd like to kind of clear that up tonight. I was talking to the vendor, and we seem to think we can accomplish getting these all out by the middle of March, okay? And then we're going to have to send out I know you're smiling, but trust me, it's going to happen, okay? So with that, we're going to have to advertise it well through 311, social media, the regular media. We have to get that out because that's going to be part of it, the signage. When it first goes into play, people like in your area, they're familiar with it. Their stickers that they have are going to be their overnight residential permit parking sticker. They're not going to get a second sticker. So all the areas like West Revere, Broadway, this is going to be a new program to them. So they're all going to be getting a sticker that's going to be a blanket use. They're not going to be restricted to the street on Suffolk Ave to park. What we're trying to do is make it easy, clean up the people that don't belong on the street, their vehicles aren't registered to the street, and that's what we're dealing with, because there's a lot of 5, 6 people living in homes. We're going to be issuing roughly anybody whose vehicle is registered. That household now is only going to be allowed 1 permit, where some of these households were getting 6 visitor permits because we were issuing 2 per person. Even if they came down and didn't own a car, they were receiving two visitor passes. To clean this all up, I think the program we have is an excellent program. We can get it started. Sure, there's going to be problems with it. And when the problems come up, we address the problems, we fix it as we go, and do the best we can do.
So the initial sticker will be a sticker for the window, not a portable pass?
Will be a sticker for their window. It'll have also, it'll be abbreviated with the street. It'll have the plate number on it, and it'll have a barcode. The barcode, part of the use of the barcode is we're hoping that we can cut down on people making fraudulent passes.
Yeah. And the visitor permits, they're going to get 1 per household?
1 per household, yeah. Now, if you were in 3 different families living in 3 different apartments, they'd have 3.
Each one will get 1?
1 per unit.
Yeah, okay.
Councilor Rotundo, you joined late.
Someone else has something?
I just have one really quick question. When you're in the process of putting up all the new signs, are they going to be removing the ones that are, completely faded, or the older signs as well?
I could ask Paul, but I would hope to think that's what we're doing, because a lot of our signs are beat up. They're just, we got enough use out of them. These signs that they're using in Everett, if you drive up and down the streets in Everett, the signs look really, really nice. It's a nice, clean-looking sign.
Councilor Rotundo.
Thank you. I just want to double clarify. Thank you for coming up. Is it, and you probably went over this earlier, but for my edification, as I am late, is it going to be by zone or by street?
It's going to be by street. Once you get up here so basically down in the neighborhood you're living in, those are going to be restricted by streets. Okay, when you get any place where we have permit parking in place now, it's going to be by streets. The regulation for that street, okay, say most of them are 24, then it bounces around a little. There's only 14. There's something like 76 streets that are restricted parking right now. Out of 76 streets, those are all day, 24 hours.
Because down on Beach Street, and you know this better than I do, you have more spaces on Kimball Ave that don't get filled up, and people on Beach Street actually go there.
Right.
So, because there are no spaces going up past just around 570.
Yeah, you and I have dealt with this.
Yeah, quite a bit.
But it's something that, like I said, we're going to be working on it. We're going to have to tweak it. I'm happy to talk to any councilor at any time. If they come up with a good idea that is good, to come before the traffic commission, let's fix it,
Part of me thinks some areas might be better off by zone, and part of me thinks that won't work at all. So it's just...
Yeah, it's a
new program. Go through the working pain.
Right, exactly.
No, the rules, you all done, Council? Okay. what we have in existence now is people can park on adjacent streets.
Yes.
That's still going to be in effect?
That, we're going to still let that be in effect because somebody's going to come home and they're not going to be able to get on that street. The
Right,
street's
and
too
also for
crowded.
street sweeping too, because when they do street sweeping days, they have to park on other streets to get off their street to allow the street to
Right,
be
to move.
cleaned.
To move over.
So that'll stay in effect. So like, people on Beach Street can park on Kimball or on North Shore Road,
Right.
where there's permit parking.
You know, what I like to think with the parking department, what I've brought to the parking department is that I'm willing to work with people. I'm here to try to not cause problems for people, to make it work. So, and that's why I think we've been doing so well over there.
And I think we're all in the same boat.
Yes.
We want to try and make things work. And, and I appreciate it. And, this meeting today, and, I think we're just about ready to close it out, but I think it was a good informative meeting. And, I thank everybody for their input, because they all are important issues that we spoke about. And I want to thank you. And just one quick thing for you. Did you get my note on Hillside Ave?
Today?
Last week.
Last week, I did. But
About reinforcing the permit parking up there. It's
Okay.
getting out of control again.
We'll have them check there. I have one of my best sitting right here.
Yeah.
And they're all good. But we'll send him up there.
I'm going to start calling him Mr. Blank. He knows why. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you enjoyed this meeting. We will have hopefully another meeting next month to maybe catch up on things and keep everybody involved. I think it's important for us to be informed and the communication be open, because before today, we basically knew nothing. We didn't know anything that was going on. So it was very helpful, and we thank everybody for coming down. Thank you.